Hello everyone. We'll repeat a bit today. So we talked about in Agile, we talked about small batch sizes. We also talked about, the advantage of feature toggles. If you want to, let's say, switch from, let's say you want to, you've built a feature, but it's not fully ready, but you have merged it to master, and you do want to push it to production, then or the other way around, that it's fully ready, it's completely tested, but still the business wants you to go live on a certain date, but your release cycle is saying that you have to, let's say, push to production today. So in both those cases, you use feature toggles, and in this example, for example, on the left, A, B, and C methods are consuming, let's say, method D. And once you flip the flag, so if the flag is 0, A, B, and C will call method D. But if the flag is 1, A, B, and C will call method D1, right? So this is a feature. The advantage of this is that you're in production, you can control it, you can be be more helpful to the business, because everything is in production. You just need to flip a switch, and the new feature will be available, right? The other thing, a new feature or new functionality, or whatever you worked on. Okay, and we talked about branch by abstraction, which is also a similar concept, but and you can use branch by abstraction in combination with feature flags, right? But in this diagram, in the above part, for example, A, B, and C are consuming D, and you've created D1. You want to deprecate D over time. Let's say you're doing a technical type of work, but you want to merge to master. You don't want to keep it outside, because then later merging is a big problem, right? So what you've done here is that you created D1, you've tested it, and now instead of getting everybody to move to D1, you just have moved C to D1, right? The functionality is same, the business cannot tell the difference, but D1 is of course the future of your code base, and D is to be deprecated, right? You are doing code duplication. This is an anti-pattern you are accepting, right? So this is what branch by abstraction is, a very simple concept. And then later, once you've seen that D1 performed well with C, then maybe in the next sprint you move B to D1, and then after that you move A to D1, right? So it's a very slow process, but everything is in merge to master, everything is in production, right? The other question that came through that I had not sort of properly answered earlier, that when you start refactoring your legacy code, you want to, you end up making it testable, right? So let's say a typical situation where you have a method which calls M1, M2, and M3. It calls these three methods, right? And subsequently, M1 calls M4 and M5, and then M4 calls M6, and these are all large methods, right? And it's a mess, right? You need to start refactoring. Where do you start? So you start, one of the approaches that people take is that you start with the leaves. So M6, M5, M2, or M3, you can start there. And how do you start? You can start by, refactoring, refactor to make a method, smaller. So you want to make it smaller. You want to move towards the solid principles, the SOLID, right? And you can, you know, probably, let's say, break M6 to smaller methods, or create some smaller methods within that, and write unit tests again. And those methods will be testable, right? They will have the parameters. They'll follow solid principles, basically. And if you can't write unit test, and let's say your test suite is running in less than 10 minutes, you can even write integration tests, just to have something testable available to you. Right, write your integration test, and move forward slowly. And then once once your integration tests are taking more than 10 minutes, then think about adding some unit tests and removing some unit integration tests. So depending on your strategy. But if you want to do a deep dive on how to do this, right, how to work effectively with legacy code, there's a fantastic book by Michael Feathers on this topic. And this author is also recommended by Mike Cohn, who's like one of the leading people in Scrum. So I will stop here and take questions.